Hello, my name is Debbie Roth, and this week I read 8 children's books. 1 is a featured text, and 7 others will be mentioned more briefly. Let's get started. My featured text this week is Fables by Arnold Lobel. It won the Caldecott Medal in 1981. This text is a collection of fables. In these fables, animals learn lessons about life. Each story is a page long with a picture to go with it and a moral at the end. I chose to feature this text because this trade book could be used in the classroom in numerous ways. The stories could be read in those brief transition times, or if you finish early, they don't take very long to read, and they're pretty fun. But you could also study this book more intensely and relate it to a number of content areas. It's a very versatile book and a great book to incorporate into a classroom really anywhere from 2nd grade, maybe even 1st, to 5th, maybe even 6th, depending on your students. You can have your students come up with their own moral and craft a fable to teach that moral to their peers. Using something like Story Jumper, like you see here, students can illustrate their fables and collaborate with their peers. Students can work on this at the same time, and they could offer each other tips. They can see each other's fables and maybe edit them on Story Jumper, and they can brainstorm together if they need to. Maybe they could even help each other find illustrations or format their story to look better. This is a great collaboration tool as well as being a creation tool. Here's a model. My fable is about a fish that doesn't follow the crowd. I had a lot of fun putting together the background and adding in the little fish, and then creating my story to fit on the page and look like the stories in Fables by Arnold Lobel. This would be a wonderful way to talk to students about the writing process. Students can brainstorm ideas, draft their fables, edit and revise with peers on Story Jumper or in class, and finally publish their work. One of the greatest features of Story Jumper is the ability to publish your completed book. After your class has compiled their fables, you can order the bound and printed book to keep in your classroom. Here is the preview of my bound and completed book with only my example, but still a book nonetheless. And it will tell you the price, and obviously as you add more, the price will increase, but relatively inexpensive for something so customizable and really meaningful to your students. You can also give parents the option to buy the completed work so the students can have the book at home if they are really proud of it. In a 2nd grade classroom, this book can be tied into social studies and the responsibilities of individuals and groups. For this project, I would have my class discuss why it is important that a society holds shared moral values and why individuals and groups need to make responsible choices. Then students would choose one fable they believe teaches a critical moral, either from the book or a fable they write, and create a podcast explaining why the fable matters and why people should choose to follow the lesson it teaches. Students would use Audacity to record their podcast. This is a free recording tool, and it's really simple to use. It works really well. Then their podcast could be put on the class or school website or shared with a wider audience in another way, such as compiling them and making a video and posting it to YouTube. To listen to my example, please visit my website at bookcritiquesroth.weebly.com. Here are some of the other books I read this week. Herschel and the Hanukkah Goblins was a lot of fun to read. It's a very creative story, and it teaches about the Jewish culture through Hanukkah, obviously, in a very fun, interesting, engaging way. I enjoyed it a lot. Gone Wild is all about endangered animals. It's an alphabet book, but it has a lot of more complicated information in it and more reading at the end of the book. It would be great for students who really like animals and also for discussions about different science topics and social studies topics. Black and White was a very interesting book as well. It requires a lot of critical thinking, which is really good and definitely worthwhile. Kitten's First Full Moon is a beautifully illustrated picture book for younger readers about a kitten who mistakes the full moon for a bowl of milk. Rosa is a biography about Rosa Parks and her impact on the civil rights movement in America. This would be a great book to tie into social studies lessons. The Hello Goodbye Window is a story about a little girl who goes to visit her grandparents' house and about the window in their kitchen. This is a great book for young readers and a good way to talk to them about families. From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankenwheeler is a chapter book about two children who run away from home and live in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's a little bit of a mystery as well. All 8 of the books I read this week were phenomenal, and I would recommend each one of them.